Hi, Deborah and Kieran. Very excited to talk to you today about Swansea Fish.
Hello.
Hi.
First things first, I guess, Deborah, I'd love to hear why you got into this industry and how you started Swansea Fish.
I got made redundant. I was an area manager and running a security company. And I was going to set up my own security company. And in the meantime, I got asked to help out in a family member's fish shop. And I just thought, this is really easy. It wasn't, but this is really easy. So I got a little van and I started going around the houses and selling to the public. And then I bought a couple of shops and that was going well. And I thought, why am I buying off a wholesaler when I can do it myself? So I set up a cooperative of other fishmongers and I would buy for all of us. And eventually I moved into a big unit, and I think at the time there was about 4 fish merchants in Swansea, and then one by one I took my business. Just now there's only us left. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
It's natural transition from security to fish.
I know, it's strange, isn't it?
And what do you love about the industry?
It's quite an organic business, you know. From the fishermen, they just a breed to themselves. There is nobody else like a fisherman, you know. They're very unorthodox, they dance to their own tune, and then you deal with colleges to sell to, you deal with restaurants, you deal with the public. There's every day is a different day.
And if I was to say, what don't you like about the industry?
Smell of fish, probably, in the supermarket after work.
Yeah. You're always conscious of
freezing cold. Men don't like women in fish industry. That's been a challenge over the last 35 years, I can tell you. And the cold, nobody likes the cold, do they?
And what about, I guess work-life balances? You know, sometimes it's earlier mornings. How do you find that?
I think the funny thing with our industry is because we're dealing with restaurants and hotels, it's almost a 24-hour operation. So although we leave work at sort of 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's when our customers are starting. So they although we're not physically in the building, we don't really stop working because they're ringing us, and
We had a rule when the children were small, Paul, my husband and I, that we would watch a movie between 7:30 and 9 o'clock because they were all the chefs were in service, so I knew the phone wasn't going to ring.
Yeah.
That was our time to just sit and watch a film. You couldn't do any other time.
What about fluctuating prices and availability? You know, obviously it's an industry where prices change regularly and availability changes.
Without trying to plug, and I'm not trying to plug Fresho, but one of the great things is if a chef finishes work and at 12 o'clock at night he thinks, better put my fish order in. What would normally happen before Fresho, they would leave a voicemail on our answer machine. So for argument's sake, the day before they could have had wild bass, local wild bass, and they've got it on their specials, or they've got it on their menu. They put that order in. We haven't had any landings, they don't know that, and they haven't got what they want the next day. Whereas with Fresho, they would go on and see it's not available and automatically think, well, I'll have the halibut. And it keeps them a lot happier. So that's been really good, isn't it?
Yeah, that is good. And you asked about the change in pricings as well. For us, Fresho does make that easier as well, doesn't it? Because it's much easier to keep on top of it. Especially in the last sort of year, 18 months, prices have been really, really volatile, haven't they?
Yeah.
Particularly on frozen cod has been...
Frozen cod went from a stable £32 a box, literally overnight, to £55. And that's for a £10 box. That's for 20 portions. Horrific. It's now dropped back down.
Dropped right back down to pretty much almost where it was before.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an industry unlike any others. You know, all your dry goods, etc. The pricing doesn't really fluctuate day to day, and you don't have those
I've often dreamed, friends of mine, he's a wine merchant. Can you imagine that you just buy a product, you know how much you paid for it, it's never going to change, and it's not going to go off?
Yeah, brilliant.
And you don't have to refrigerate it.
There's something about fresh produce as well, right? Like it drives the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've got to be on board. You've really got to have it. You've got to be switched on.
It's like playing the stock market.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
You buy it at the right time, the right quantity, guessing what people are going to order and when. It's you never really know what you're gonna come into.
And the weather. You know, we have to watch the weather a week in advance, so we know if we can't get heat from Cornwall, we start looking up in Scotland. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult to predict. It's all about knowing your customer as well, I think. Knowing what they want and when they want it, and speaking with them a lot.
Yeah,
that helps. And
is that how you stay on top of your margins? You know, buying well, selling. Is that, you know, what else do you do? You're talking about speaking with your customers.
Yeah.
Well, again, Fresho's pretty good at that. Whereas I would have to either sit down and physically send a load of WhatsApps. So we got 400 customers. Or I'd be ringing them. And a phone call to a chef, you can't just phone up and say, we just had a land in a grey mullet, I can do a great price on it. They want to have a chat. So it just takes too long. Whereas Kieran will just put it on special, on Fresho, it's out there.
Yeah. And it's the first thing that people will see, so they know it's a much quicker, more efficient way to get the message out there.
What are your business goals for this year?
I think we've seen some good growth this year, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which is sort of contrary. If you spoke to our customers, they would say that they've not had a fantastic year, but we've done quite well. And I hope that we're going to grow some more next year. We're doing quite a lot with the smoked products.
I think if we had stayed static with our existing customers, which was great, you know, we've got a very healthy turnover, we would have been down. But between Kieran, mainly Kieran actually, I'm normally the one that brings the people in, but Kieran's been doing it. We've brought more customers in, so even though the spend is less per customer, we've got more customers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
How do you bring customers in, and I guess keep customers, right? That retention.
We've got quite a hands-on personal approach with our customers.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really have many office staff, you know, dealing with people over the phone. We deal with all of our customers over the phone.
Well, we haven't got any office staff.
Well, we haven't got any office staff. No, it's just us and Dad. My brother's just started as well. So the only people that our customers deal with is us, pretty much. You know, we make quite a big effort to go out and about, visiting as many customers as we can during the year as well.
Hence my camper van.
So it's tax deductible camper van.
Yes, it is. But I do genuinely use it. I don't go anywhere other than to see my customers.
It sounded like Kieran originally wasn't interested in joining the business. How did that work out?
It was difficult because Kieran had his own ideas. I'm set in my ways. I mean, for me, I've got a great business. I make money and I keep my customers happy. Why do you want to change that? But it's been a good transition. I mean, I had high blood pressure when he first came here. I thought he was going to kill me. But we did get there in the end, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think we both give a bit.
Yeah.
He now takes the phone home and he does speak to customers outside work.
Yeah.
And I've learned to accept new modern ways.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of friction to begin with because, you know, as I say, I'd come from a very modern business, very forward-thinking business.
There was, and I'm not just making this up, there was a lot of tears. Me and both of us were just crying all the time.
Yeah.
Frustrated, angry.
Yeah.
Didn't think it would work.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant.
I think actually Fresho for me was almost the turning point. Really.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
It was around that time where I felt like we were moving, the business was moving a little bit more in my direction that I could understand and get on board with. which helped me to bend a little bit towards mum in the way that she wanted things doing as well. You know.
What about food wastage and sustainability? Do you look at that? Is that something you look at?
If you're talking of a byproduct, as in if we're filleting something and the skin and the head and that all goes to the lobster fishermen, so that goes for bait. So we don't put that into the landfill. The biggest issue we've got are polystyrene boxes.
Sure.
That is the biggest thing. And don't get me wrong, it's not just me in the industry, other people in the industry. We've tried cardboard. It's not great for the fish. You know, it's not great at all.
I found it really interesting when I started that really the whole industry uses these poly boxes, which is a material which is actually contributing towards killing the environment from where the product comes from. It's a really bizarre thing to use. But
I'd like to see it gone, but what are we going to replace it with?
But what can we replace it with? Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you need to be able to put the fish in something that, you know, is really presentable to the chefs as well. So
I suspect it'll go towards reusable boxes.
Well, we did, before you came into the business, I did actually try that. We had our bigger restaurants, we bought boxes, albeit plastic, and we were sending the fish over in that, but then we weren't getting the boxes back. You know, it's maybe if the restaurants themselves bought boxes, then they would be keen to send them back over to us.
Yeah.
But that is something, you know, we've thought about doing again, isn't it?
But there's very little waste here.
No, there's no waste.
But, yeah, you know, we do we portion quite well, 4 or 5 different varieties of fish for our restaurants, depending on what size portions they want. That does create small offcuts that we can't use as a portion, but we then create a pie mix out of that. So, you know, there isn't really.
No.
There's
a home for everything, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's never going off. It's not for keeping. You eat it today.
Oh, that's great. Well, thanks so much, Deborah and Kieran, for that.
You're very welcome.
We're very excited that we've been able to make a difference, and it's been great, and really appreciate the opportunity to talk about Swansea.
Pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you for changing my life.